Hello, you lovely, lovely people. Nice to be seeing you again. And it's Saturday night. I've been mowing the grass, doing some chores, painting, but that's not the topic. Of course, it's not. No one wants to be listening to me ramble on about that. But the topic is, um, can you remember my American friend who was deported? You know, he was in prison for quite some time and blah 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 because of his disgruntled, I would call her, uh, ex-partner. Well, we had a talk, and the reason we had a talk is because he's recently had a hernia operation and like an operation to remove a gallstone. And the reason I was talking to him about it is because I've got to have a hernia operation too. I've got a hernia and it's getting no better, people. It's getting no better. I'm finding I have to push it back in more and more. But it's only small, but nevertheless I have to push it back in. And I've got one of these belts. I'm not wearing one of them. I feel like a right fucking flit wearing it, so not wearing one of them. So, you know, we spoke on, on video phone and or video call, should I say? And we was talking about the hernia operation and blah blah blah. Anyway, we got onto the topic of his ex-partner, and I said to him, and this is just through my life experience, okay? I said, there's some things we should never ever tell our partners, no matter how much we love them, how much we trust them. There's things you just don't tell them. And the reason for that is because if you ever do break up, people break up all the time. You might have a brilliant relationship today. Something might happen, you might fall in a crock of shit, or she might be in a crock of shit as it finishes. And generally speaking, when someone breaks up from a relationship, it's not always amicable, is it? There's always a bit of... And I said to him about never ever tell your partner everything. Don't tell them things that they can use as ammunition if you break up. And that's what this ex-partner did of my friend. She was using ammunition from the things that they spoke about when they were together. When their relationship was all hunky-dory and lovely and sweet. That's one thing I just wouldn't do, is tell your partner anything that they can use against you, because they do. And I know many of you people who's been in relationships and you told your ex-partners things, and they tell their friends after the breakup. Some even don't even wait till after the breakup, but you know what I mean. And also, when I used to work in England, there's things I would never say to my co-workers. And the reason I would never say anything to them is because if it was something about my work, they might, and if it was like a bad thing, like, oh, I fucking hate this job, there's a better, blah, blah, blah. Because don't forget, your co-workers are not your chosen friends. They really not. Co-workers are just that. They are co-workers. You haven't chosen them, you banded together with work. And many of them can't be trusted. And many friends as well. Friends and family can't be trusted as well. I know people where their families have gone against them. In England. And they've said things in confidence and it's got out, and yeah. So I think a lot of this problem with my friend was caused through what he did, flaunt his ex-girlfriend, his old girlfriend. Just don't do that. But he said that many of the things that he did say to her, he'd come out in court. Now, he did tell me some of the things, but I'm not going to repeat it on here. It's neither here nor there. But it didn't go pretty well for him. And that's one thing I've never done. And people might say, well, if you aren't totally open with your partner, then you don't love her, or you shouldn't be together. Well, no, that's not true. That's not true. There's things that you do keep to yourself. There really is. Another thing as well I want to say about keeping to yourself is how much money you earn and how much savings you've got. That should be confidential, because that's going to end in bad news, isn't it? You and why do people want to tell other people how much that they earn? Why do people tell people how much they've got, how much savings they have, how much money they earn per year, per month? There's no sense in it. It's not big. It's not clever. And no one needs to know that. No one needs to know. So there is a few things not to tell people. And this is not advice, people. I think of advice because of the message I got. But it's just me saying. It's just me saying. And when you're with your partner, do you need to tell her everything about your life, about your history of your life? No, you don't. You need to tell her what you want to tell her. It's the same as, my wife's often said to me, right, and I will be honest about this, and if she watches this video, she probably will. There is no harm in it. But, she said to me before, how many partners have you been with? And I said, well, that's none of your business, really. In a nice way. In a nice way. I said, because that's not a question that I would ask you or anybody else. Because history is history, And let's just say someone has been a bit on the player side, and you might say, oh, I've been with, 20, 30, 40, 50 women. They can hold that against you. They really can. And that will play on their minds. So when you go out with your friends, they will be thinking, that bastard had a fucking many relationship, slept with many people before on one night stand. What's to say he's not going to do it tonight here? Do you know what I mean? So when people ask you questions like that, it's not big and clever to brag about your past if you've had illicit with many women, It's not clever to brag about it, is it? Because only you need to know that. No one else needs to know that, Friends, I don't know, because you do brag to your friends, don't you? Oh, that last night, did you do it? Yeah, of course I did. But, there's some things you just don't say. And I think that was part and parcel of this woman as well, with my friend who was deported, came about because he was telling his wife things that he'd done in the past and all that sort of stuff. And it's ammunition, isn't it? History's history. History, should stay there. That's where it belongs. And I think people who ask how many partners you've been with, it's like a sign of insecurity, I think. It's just me thinking, people. That's all it is. It's just me thinking. So as far as I'm concerned, things I don't say nothing to co-workers. Not that I've got any co-workers now, but when I did, work back in the UK with co-workers, I never told them anything about my personal life. Is personal life, people, isn't it? No one needs to know people's personal life. No one needs to know that. And I never told anyone about my personal life, The one thing I did say on here was how I earned a lot of money in the past. But of course, that's all gone. I did that in a video. But that's the only thing I've really mentioned, about my personal life. My personal life is my personal life. It's not for YouTube. It's not for anyone outside of the people who I want to talk about my personal life too. Not that I've done anything extraordinary. I could never write a book. Oh, I suppose I could actually. It might only be 2 chapters, but I certainly could. I think I could. So yeah, never talk to your co-workers about things that you don't want to know. Like if you hate the job, this, that, and the other, because that can go against you. And also your partner. And again, these people who brag how much money they've got, how many houses they have, how much rent they charge for these houses and that. There's a couple of people here who do people, and one of them is a British guy, actually. I won't mention his name, and I won't mention what properties that he has, that he rents out here. But he's always bragging about this and bragging about that, and how much money he's got and how much money he earns and all that. Brilliant. But it's not something that I need to know at all. It's like the time when we were thinking about building some apartments on my wife's land on the roadside bit. I thought, why am I saying that on on YouTube, because a lot of people say, no, don't do that, it's stupid, you know, you lose your money. A lot of people said, yeah, it's a good idea. But so I think I've decided that YouTube is YouTube. That's what it is. And I've decided that people who do leave me derogatory comments, if there is like a history of derogatory comments from the same person, deletion. I'm going to hide from the channel, people. I'm going to hide. Because I don't need to see that sort of stuff anymore, do I? I'm not saying opinions, but when they leave a shitty comment, you know, like, you're an old man and that. I'm not that old. I'm not on death's door. I'm not in my 60s or anything like that, you know. I'm not on death's door. Yes, I'm getting on. I don't draw a pension. And they say, old men, you know, what do they say? A lot of them, old man, you're like a fool in his money is easily parted. Well, you're entitled to that comment, you know, but I'm wise in a way. I'm wise. And I'm wise in the fact as, if anything went Pete Tong for me here, I can move on. I'm not bankrupt. I am not on my arse. I'm not on the street begging. I'm not getting behind on visas. Because if we split up, my 13A would be revoked. Because I've only got my permanent residence, my spousal visa, because I'm married. Yes, there is no divorce, but in the Philippines, so once you're married, you can't get divorced. There is annulment or there is separation. But, you know, my wife could make my life very difficult if she wanted to, you know, if she wanted to. I mean, she could say to me, Stephen, piss off, I've had enough of you here. And I've got to go back on a tourist visa. But that's not a bad thing. I don't think she ever would. Yeah, we have a very good relationship, actually. And the reason why we have a good relationship is because we don't talk very much. Oh, I mean, talk very much, you know, like in depth. But I've never been one for talking in depth anyway. The people who I need to talk in depth with is the people that I do, and it's normally friends in England and things like that. But we don't have that many things to talk about in depth. Honest to God, you know, we don't. We just talk about normal things, you know. You know, what's our plan for today? You know, what's your plan today? That's what I say to her, and she'll say, well, it's up to you. What do you want to do? And I'll say, well, I'm easy going. Do you want to go out? Do you want to stay in? You know, do you want me to drop you at your friend's house? So I've got half a day on my own, peace and quiet. And think, but you know, in-depth conversations. You know, normally in-depth conversations is not only about financial things, isn't it? Well, we don't need to talk about that. We don't need to talk about mortgages, about problems, because we haven't really got any. So when I say we don't talk a lot, we don't talk a lot in depth. And when we do talk, my fucking God, was it summer today? Oh yes, I think it was summer today. I can't remember what the hell it was. It'll come to me in a minute, but I can't think what it was. And she said it, and she was laughing when she said it, and I thought, what was she talking about? And I said, Mira, what do you mean? And she said, so she says something, and I have to, you know, like, it's like the fucking Krypton factor. I have to figure out what she's talking about. But now, I just kind of, it just goes over my head. So she'll tell me something, and I haven't got a clue what she's talking about from time to time. I was, yeah, brilliant. And she looked at me as if to say, you fucking idiot. Because I shouldn't have reacted that way, because it's only because I'm not really listening. How many of you men out there do the same thing? And not with your Filipino partner, with your Western partner. How many? I can't count on my hands, or 100 people's hands, or 1,000 people's hands right now, how many times that I've done that, you know, to women in England where they've been talking to me, and I think, yeah, that's fucking not interested. I'm fucking not interested, honest to God. Unless it's something of interest to me, that's going to affect me. But I don't want to know what Tom, Dick and Harry's doing up the street. I don't want to know if, you know, like if fucking Uncle Brenda's bought a Carabao. I'm not interested. Good luck, excellent, brilliant. It doesn't bother me. That's what it was about. One of her fucking uncles has bought a Carabao, and so something about the Carabao. I don't know what it was. What? Yeah, and, but it was the way she said it. Carabao, my uncle has bought. What? Yeah, that's great. That's brilliant, excellent. You know, fucking what's telling me that for? I'm not interested in Carabao. Anyway, people, I'm going to go because the rain has started, as you can hear, and that's going to be very annoying for you. I know it is. And that to me is relaxing. I can sleep in that, and I'm very tired now. So I was up very early this morning. But listen, thank you for listening. So remember, not advice, just what I'm saying, okay? Don't tell your partner everything. Don't tell your co-workers everything. And keep your private matters to yourself. Keep your financial things to yourself. No one wants to know if you own 20 houses. No one wants to know if you own 1,000 bitcoins. Listen, thank you very much. Over and out. I'm not. Well, get off then. Over and out.